Welcome to Motherhood Unscripted, the podcast that shares the unspoken changes that affects a woman after she becomes a mother. This podcast not only sheds light on the complexities of raising children, but also gives solutions that make them feel empowered, gets to talk about the honest and raw truths in motherhood. It also advocates for mental well-being of moms and also builds a community that connects mothers together. Let's work together as we unlearn what society has taught us and learn who we are meant to be as women and mothers. Let's take this journey together. Welcome. Hi everyone, welcome back to Motherhood Unscripted, where we talk about the truth behind motherhood, the beautiful, the messy, and everything in between. I am your host Gladys Kangao, and today I want to talk about something that feels both simple and impossible at the same time, and that is gratitude. Because let's be honest, dear mamas, when life feels loud, the last thing on your mind is writing a gratitude list. But maybe, just maybe, gratitude isn't something we find after the chaos. Maybe it's something that we discover inside it. So without wasting any time, let us jump into this wonderful topic, and I hope that we will learn together. Welcome. So let's talk about the chaos that we do not talk about. And I can use an example of a typical day of a mother. So you have dirty dishes on the sink, there's laundry waiting to be done, there is also food to be cooked. You have to go to the market to even buy that food. So there are so many things that we usually juggle in a day-to-day life as a mother. Your child just spilled tea on themselves or milk, and you have to change them for the third time, or maybe they have gone and played with mud. Life can be really, really chaotic. And the last thing that is on your mind is being still, because you feel you have so many things that you are juggling at once. Yeah? So sometimes it's hard to feel grateful during this chaos. You're just trying to survive. You're just trying to take it a day at a time, a minute at a time. And as a friend of mine who we always talk on the phone, she tells me I usually take it a second at a time. And, as you can imagine, on a day-to-day, we get to juggle a lot of things. And that is just one day. What I've come to learn over time is gratitude isn't about ignoring the chaos. It's anchoring yourself in the middle of it. So you find that, yes, you cannot ignore this chaos. And as a mother, it's part of, the mothering journey. Life can get chaotic sometimes. Your baby is sick, or you're being called to school. Your child has suddenly fallen ill, and there are other things that need your attention at the same time if you're a working mom. So I have come to learn that, we can't ignore the chaos. Dear mom, you cannot ignore it. But once you learn to anchor yourself during those moments, that is how now gratitude begins. So it's about saying, this moment is loud, but I'm still here. I'm still standing. So now let's continue and talk about redefining gratitude. So let us understand together. We often think that gratitude has to be a deep and poetic thing, I'm grateful for the sunrise, which I'm not saying is bad. I'm grateful for my kids, I'm grateful for my work, but gratitude is a bit different from how we have known. And it's really, really important for you, dear mom, who is watching, who is listening, understand how do we redefine gratitude. And this is how. So let's learn together. So as much as we see gratitude as something that we can say, I'm grateful for, my job. I'm grateful that I'm able to go to work. I'm grateful for the sunrise. I'm grateful to be alive. There are some of these things that we miss when it comes to mothers. Like, for example, this is how you redefine gratitude. I am grateful that my baby slept for 4 hours instead of 2. That is something to be grateful for. Some of these things might look a bit silly, so something, when you say it out loud to someone, they might not fully understand. But gratitude can be that small thing. I am grateful that I was able to make my bed, and I know some of you back there are really nodding, because some of these things might not seem as important, and we are not even able to feel we are grateful for them. But you can be able to see how redefining gratitude and really looking at those small things that we are able to achieve on a day-to-day basis as a mother can really, really shift your mood, can shift your energy. Sometimes you can be grateful that even your baby is wearing matching socks. You see, sometimes I know some of us moms, we can relate, because I don't know where those socks really go to, but we find that you never have matching socks. So you find that some of these things that we often overlook, they are really, really important for us mothers, to keep us grounded, to keep us not only surviving, but to keep us anchored, which is so, so important. I'm grateful that my child was able to take 10 teaspoons of food. Some of us are struggling with, our kids, eating. So you find that maybe, they're picky eaters. Today they chose to eat and they finished, or at least they manage even halfway. Or, I managed to take a shower, I managed to comb my hair. Some of these things, we often overlook them, but this is how we redefine gratitude. And I'm hoping you who is listening there back at home, you're able to see, life on a different lens. I can be grateful for other little things that many of us, many other people might not understand. Only us mothers are able to relate to. So I hope you have really gotten something from that. So now we can move to now the science of gratitude, and really get to understand. So let's talk about the science of gratitude. And studies show that gratitude shifts how our brains work. It rewires us towards positivity. And I'll repeat it again. Studies show that gratitude shifts how our brains work, and it rewires us towards positivity. So what does this mean for you who's listening, or even for me? It means what you are acknowledging, what you are is working for, what you are acknowledging that is working, our nervous system calms down. Yeah. So whenever you have a bit of gratitude, even during the chaos, even during those hard times that us mothers go through on a day-to-day basis, our nervous systems calms down, our stress levels drop. So you can see it's not just about, saying something positive. It requires our brain, it requires our, nervous system, it requires even how our uh, stress levels are, it lowers your stress levels. So you can see there is a science behind gratitude. It's not just having a gratitude list, it's not just speaking positively, but it is much, much more. And to our brains, towards our nervous system. And when we start noticing more good things without forcing, and once we start being positive even during the chaos, noticing the little things, being grateful for those little things that many people really do not pay attention towards, it really rewires our entire nervous system. And when we start noticing more good things without forcing it. So as you can see here, dear mother, once you see you start this gratitude, it's not just about positivity. And I know there are people who do not like talking about it. There is something called toxic positivity, but that is a topic for another day. So here, once you start that, you rewire your entire nervous system. And the most important thing, as I was saying, you will start noticing other positive things without even forcing, without even having to really look into that. You might be having a chaotic day, but still at the end of the day, you're not overwhelmed, your nervous system is not all over the place, is not worked up, your stress levels are still normal. So you find that some of these things they are more than just writing a list. They change our entire nervous system. So when you stop even for a second to say, I am grateful that I made it through a day, your brain literally starts building new pathways for peace. So as you can see, it's really, really important to really stop and look into the different things. I've really interacted with so many moms who daily their life is very chaotic. Daily, so many things are happening. And, once you put your life through that, your brain will always tend to see the negative of life, the negative things of your motherhood journey, the negative things of your experiences. But when you stop, at least even for 10 seconds, it doesn't have to be the entire day, and say, I'm grateful, I made it through the day. I'm grateful, I did this. I'm grateful I was able to do one thing that I was putting off for a long time, then that's how your brain, starts to build new pathways. So I hope that we are continuing to learn together, guys. So I want to share a little story. I usually say I am my own teacher because I learn out of my own personal experiences. And just like a month ago, I was having a really bad day. Everything that could possibly go wrong did go wrong. And I was frustrated. I was just feeling like, the world is ending. I was just feeling, a lot of emotions were going through my mind. You're looking at your house, it's a mess. You're looking at your laundry, it's piled up. And, there's so many things that you have to do. And, my little one came to me and just gave me a big hug out of the blue and say, Mom, you're the best mom. And I just looked at him and just smiled. And I just remember feeling, the tension go away. All the tension that I was having at that time go away. The small, the messy, random moments became my anchor for that day. So it reminded me that gratitude doesn't always whisper. Sometimes it giggles, it gives you a hug, and you feel, you know, just that moment you feel, you know, some of these little things that happen in our life as motherhood. Sometimes you can look at your child or they can do something. And so I was reminded that I was not really having a bad day. And just those little things that we overlook, once again, as I was sharing earlier, really, really matter and can really, really change how your day will end, even. So, how do we find gratitude in every day? Yeah, so it's really, really important because as moms, we juggle a lot. I want us to talk about how do you find gratitude in our everyday life, because life gets really, really busy, life gets really overwhelming. So how do we find gratitude on our day-to-day? And what I can say, according to my experience, is start tiny. Okay, so maybe at the end of each day, before you go to bed, find one thing that did not go wrong. Find one thing that made you smile. Find one thing that didn't fall apart. But once you start small and just find one thing that made you smile, like me, that one thing that made me smile that day was just my son telling me, "You're the best mom." And suddenly life did not feel so messy as I thought it was, or how I was thinking at that time. So the second thing that you can do is reframing the chaos. And this is really, really important because how we speak to ourselves, what we say really matters, especially for us moms. So how do we reframe the chaos? So instead of saying, "I had such a long day," you can say, "I got through a long day." You get? So that is how you can reframe that. You've had a long day, yes, but I can say, "I've gotten through that." And that is how one word changes everything. The other thing that I know most of us, have interacted with many moms, a gratitude jar. Yeah, so you can find a jar. You can write small moments on scraps of paper, and on tough days you can open the jar and remember how much beauty hides in the ordinary. So when you have a gratitude jar, when you put some of these things, and maybe a month down the line, a week down the line, you can come back, remove that, and read and see, "Oh, I had written this a month ago." It really brings back life into you to remind yourself the importance of some of the things that we often overlook, especially during those hard days, because as mothers we cannot avoid the chaos. They are just part of us. So having a gratitude jar is really, really important. So you can start with that. The other thing that I've learned that is really, really important, we can teach gratitude to our kids by modeling it. So teaching them to say thank you for small things is really important. Let them learn through you the importance of, being grateful for the little things. Saying please, saying I'm sorry. Because even when they come up to you, you can see how it will even change your mood when you give them something, maybe even food. They say thank you, or even giving them a hug, and telling them, you're the best, you're amazing. Once they see you do that to them, or even other people around you, they'll reciprocate that. And those little things really take us a long way. So that is so important. So I hope that you have learned, how to find tiny bits of ways you can find gratitude on your day to day. So can we use gratitude as a grounding technique? And this is one of the things that I've learned even in my own motherhood journey, because some of these things I've learned out of my experience. So when the world feels heavy, gratitude becomes your grounding cord. It doesn't erase the hard stuff. It simply reminds you there is light. So think of it like this, yeah? Even when the sky is cloudy, the sun hasn't stopped shining, yeah? It's just behind the clouds. And that is how gratitude is. Gratitude is how we remember the sun. So on the hardest days, maybe your gratitude is just this. On those hard days, you can remind yourself, I got through today, and that is enough. So once you get to learn the importance of using gratitude as a grounding technique, you will be able to see life on a different lens and say, yes, it was tough, but I got through it. So as we come to an end, I want to leave you with this. Motherhood is chaos wrapped in love. And when you choose gratitude, even when things are messy, you're not pretending that everything is fine. You're choosing to see yourself in the middle of the story, not just the struggle. Because gratitude is not about having a perfect life. It's about recognizing the beauty in an imperfect one. So, if today's episode made you smile or breathe a little deeper, share it with another mom who might need a reminder that joy still lives here, even in the noise. So please find just a little gratitude in your chaos. And remember, you're doing better than you think. So see you on the next episode, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this video. Thank you for watching and listening. Bye-bye.